Goes live on Facebook. And we are live on Facebook for sure. Take a little bit to get in here. Let's start this interview off like we do every interview. How'd you get into Derby?
I actually come from a non-Derby family, and I grew up just like a couple blocks from the Marshall Putnam Fairgrounds, where River City Rampage is at currently. And we lived right on the highway, and so I just remember growing up watching cars. They literally drove down the highway to the Derby, and it was on a Friday night and a Monday night, so there were 2 nights of Derby. And we just kind of became, me and my older brother became obsessed with it, and then my younger brother obviously followed a little bit too. And then my dad would only take us to one night. He'd take us to Friday night, and he'd always tell us, "You've seen one Derby, you've seen them all." And so we only got to go once a year, not even twice. And really, as a kid, we didn't know anything about Derby, and we thought that was the only demolition Derby in the world as far as we knew. And then once I got older, and driver's license, and then internet started developing, I was like, oh, there's more derbies, and so we started kind of branching out. And probably by the time I was 19 or 20 was my first derby.
So what was your first car?
My first car, I actually built. I don't necessarily call it my first one. I built one with a friend that I worked at a restaurant with, and so it was more his car. I rode passenger, but we built it together, and that was like a '78 Buick LeSabre. Wasn't very good, but we still had fun with it, But my first car myself was a '74 Buick LeSabre, and I ran the stock Buick 350 in it. My dad helped me build some headers for it, so it's still thought I was cool at least, But that's how I started.
So what was the build like? Just stock, just go?
You could change body mounts. You could have a 4-point cage. I got to believe that there was probably a lot more being done to some cars. I mean, there were guys had been running for 15, 20 years. And so, I mean, I'm sure I was basic to the rules. Still ended up 4th place, kind of, I guess, being in the right place, right time, getting lucky, and, just overheating in the end with the Buick 350. It's not going to outlast anything anyway. But even back in the early 2000s, built engines weren't a thing really. I know that there were a couple of guys here locally that a couple years after I got into it, I remember some, having these bigger engines that are like, whoa, that's impressive, but those wouldn't hold a candle to anything you see today.
So going back to the beginning, was your number always 13?
Yeah, my number was 13 from the very beginning. I was born on March 13th, so that's where the number comes from. And I am not Irish. I don't really know where the 4-leaf clover came from, other than I think I just kind of wanted to pick a theme for the car, and I picked a leprechaun and a 4-leaf clover, and so the clover always stuck.
I was wondering where that came from. I was wondering if you were Irish or what the story behind all that was.
Nope. Well, really, what I did was I kind of named the car Semi-Lucky, because everybody says 13 is an unlucky number, Friday the 13th, etc. And so I kind of named it Semi-Lucky, and I had I got this coffee mug right here still on my desk that I had made way back. I mean, that's a 20-year-old coffee mug, but I hold my pens. But just being a young graphic designer, kind of playing with things, and for my first, I don't know, at least 10 cars probably, I drew. I had a paint scheme for everything. Like it was one of the things that I just had to do. It took me a while to get into, you want to run more than one car a year, and sometimes you don't have time for paint, but I tend to like to have a good paint job. It's kind of my thing. You know, I've wrapped a couple cars. It's just I'm a meticulous type person, and that's what I like.
What's your favorite paint job you've done?
Um, Good question. Really, actually, one of my very first car was all hand painted. So if you see that, I'll have to post it on Facebook sometime. But if you saw that, you would. It's pretty impressive for what it was, especially being hand painted. And nowadays where you can um, uh, print anything you want on vinyl pretty easily. That to hand paint everything that the way I did, it's I'm pretty proud of it, I guess. But the probably one of the better looking cars that I ever did was my River City Rampage car for Derby Build Season 1. We wrapped pretty much the whole thing, except for the bottom half. We painted black and just made the wrap match into it. I guess I did wrap a 76 Chevy probably in 2013 or 14. And I wrapped it with like a lizard or monster green front end, and then it faded to faded yellow, then orange and red flames into black. So that was pretty cool too.
So behind, I got a picture that I'd like to pull up here real quick.
Okay.
What was like? How'd you come up with that? Like, was it just like off the top of your head, or like what? Where did that come from?
Which one? The one with the
lizard one.
Yeah. So when I bought my vinyl printer, I think I picked that up it had to have been 2000. I guess it was 2000. I think I got the printer in 2012. So when I got a bunch of, graphics and overlays and things. And so kind of just flipping through that catalog, I was like, ooh, that's cool. Let me mess with that. And because it kind of went with, the green, green clover. And so kind of that was the direction I went. I just liked the green, and then I don't know, went from there.
So is green your favorite color then, I'm guessing?
Actually, red's my favorite color, which is how I chose the red for Derby tees. But green, so green is actually the corporate color for Klein Design. It's a kind of an electric green. We call it Klein Design green. But the reason I chose green for Klein Design was just because I had already developed a brand with red, and I didn't want two of them. That was kind of the reason. So
what's the difference between the two? Not Klein Design. Go ahead.
I can answer it that way. So Derby Tees actually started in 2003. This was my 20th year previously, going on 21 years. Klein Design didn't come about until 2011. Really, I operated as a sole proprietor for the first 8 years, and just take some business advice and tax advice I needed to incorporate. So that's where Klein Design came into play, and really I wanted to expand further than just selling Demolition Derby t-shirts. So we opened an office here in town, and it would have been dumb to operate as derbytees.com in town and try to sell to schools and businesses and other things. So that's where Klein Design came from. So Klein Design is essentially the parent company, and Derby Tees operates below that.
So what sparked your, so how do I want to phrase this? So is graphic design and stuff like that, is that what your passion is? Is that what like
so when in high school, I actually took like drafting classes. I really like technical things, and I like to draw. I was also very good in art. I enjoyed art classes, but I took 0 art classes in high school. It was kind of one of those things where you had to choose between band and art, and I was a band geek. I played percussion. I really enjoyed it, and that was just the direction I went. But moving into college, I was kind of between mechanical engineering because I liked the drafting, or graphic design because I just love to draw. And really, what it came down to is I looked at the college courses for each, and there was only one math class for graphic design, so that's the way I went. So I took the easier route as far as the curriculum went, but I mean, obviously, I can't regret where I've come from, So
do you think the college definitely helped boost you forward with all of it?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I took one class that was Illustrator based, which is what I do all my designing, and I don't use Photoshop. So I took one class and I loved Illustrator. And there was really no more classes beyond that, at least in the community college I was going to. And so I got the program myself, and I just started, self-teaching. And everything I do today is basically self-taught. And every now and then I learn something new, like, hey, how do I pull off something different? I wonder if I can get it to do this. And Google and YouTube are beautiful things. I can tell you that.
So how big is Klein? Well, when did you guys get started exactly?
Klein Design started in 2011. At that time, it was really just me and Ed Carls. He's from Henry also. He derbied for a few years prior to us meeting. Met through some friends, Shane and Sean Carr. They actually are kind of who I, really looked up to as a kid. Watched them derby. Just kind of became a fan of theirs, and I approached them one day and just said, "Hey, I want a derby, and I have a car. I'd like to, learn how to build." And so they kind of helped me. So that's kind of how I got started. But I forgot. I just got sidetracked. What was the question?
How did you get started with all of this?
Oh yeah, okay. So Ed Carls, yeah. So Ed, we met through the Carr brothers, and he was kind of I don't know if you'd call it between jobs. He worked for a company. He did a lot of computer programming, and he was just kind of burnt out and taking a break. And we were hanging out, and I said, "Hey, I could maybe use some help." I was working out of my basement. And so he'd come and he'd work 2 or 3 hours a day with me. We'd take a 4-hour lunch and not come back to work in the afternoon sometimes. But in the beginning, we did what we had to do to get things done. And we kind of got to a point where we're like, okay, we need to grow the business and do more than just demolition derby. And so that was the step we took to moving in downtown. And so it was me and Ed, and then I think my wife at the time worked for us a year or two into that. And then my sister Katie started, I think she's been working for me for 12 years, 10, I don't know. It's been a while. She's been working for me for a while too. She was a special ed teacher. And I think she worked there for 4 years. And then we actually went to Utah for a derby. She rode with me. She used some vacation time just to ride with me. And then on the way back, I'm like, you really should just work for me. So she took the summer to think about it, and then just never went back to school. She started working for me. So, and now yeah. So she's my production manager. She asked me a couple of weeks ago if she could change her role to operations manager, because pretty much anything I don't do, she does. Really, honestly, this place wouldn't hardly run without her. She does so much, and I appreciate it. And I know she knows it, but I probably don't even tell her enough either.
So going from the very beginning of it all, what made you start? What gave you the idea to start, like, basically mainstreaming making derby t-shirts?
Well, so I being designer and all that, that's semi lucky that I showed you. I had some shirts made, and a couple of the guys at Derby with Shane and Sean mainly, they're like, man, you should make shirts that anybody could wear, not just you, because I don't want to. They didn't want to wear a shirt with my number on it. They wanted their own, or just a general one. And so I was like, okay, yeah, maybe. Well, then that very semester, the last project for a class that I was in was to design a logo and develop a product. And so I actually hand drew the Derby Tees logo, and I designed a T-shirt and had it printed, and that I had to do like a final presentation for the class. And lo and behold, I got an A on the class, or on the project. So, but yeah, that's. Take a guess. Which letter do you think I drew first out of that logo?
The E.
Good guess. That was the second letter. The first letter I drew was the S. Why, I have no idea. I just kind of envisioned the S looking like that, and then I basically developed every letter from there. But it's obviously been around for 20 years. After year 4 or 5, I thought about, you know, redesigning because it's not like really like catchy or cool or, you know, I don't know. But that's kind of where the Wreck This logo came in, because originally all the shirts had this on front, just the logo, and people are like, that's kind of boring. And it wasn't a well-known brand, so nobody cared about it. But even today, I really probably don't think that I would really sell just that logo on the front. The Wreck This with the car, you know, is cooler looking. You can change colors. You can do a lot more things with it. And so that's kind of where that came from.
So what was the first ever Derby Tees T-shirt after the college?
So it was the exact same saying that I use. It's there's nothing like mud flying, smoke rolling, and metal crunching. And so after that project, I went and had 150 of them printed. And I went to Jerseyville, Illinois. It was a P&P Promotions Derby. I went down there. I sold out. I don't remember how quickly, but they were gone by the end of the weekend. And I remember beating Tori Schutte down there that weekend. I think him and Russ and probably Russ, Ryan, and Pat were all down there. But I specifically remember Tori. If he's watching, I'm sure he's already laughing because he knows that what I'm about to say is Tori was the only one that weekend that kept hounding me that he should get a discount because he can help me out. That was what he goes, do you know who I am? That's so, and because I had no idea who he was, but it was a cool experience. And so that would have been I think April of 2003. And so I went home. My dad told me, he goes, I told him I was going to print 150 shirts, and he goes, of the same thing? And I said, yeah. He goes, that's dumb, you know? And so I come home and I said, look, I sold all this. And so I designed 2 more shirts and reprinted that one again. Took 350 of them to Metal Mayhem, and it was either in May or June, and sold out again. And so I just kept kind of reinvesting, adding more designs, and go from there.
So out of all the shirts you made, what are some of the top ones that you made that you like, this is some of my best work?
You know, that's tough because every time we think that we have like the best shirt, we always come up with more ideas. And I've feared for many, many, many years that we would run out of ideas. And even honestly, like I remember in 2007 or 8, like trying to figure out a 5 or 10 year plan. Like, how can I make as much money as possible between now and then? Because Demolition Derby isn't going to be around forever. You know, I had this vision that Demolition Derby wasn't even going to be around in 2015. And you know what I mean? So I was like, I got to figure out how to either capitalize now, or you have to diversify, which is, you know, was part of what we did. So, and then here we are, like Demolition Derby is still growing. It's unbelievable.
So about 10 years in, what were you thinking?
You know, honestly, I don't even feel like I'm 41 years old. Like it's easy to, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to explain. Like, I still feel like I started this yesterday. Like, everything blends in so much. The time has flown by. It's been a heck of a ride. And think back about all the derbies I've been to, thousands of derbies. And it's really hard to really process all that. And you know, 10 years in, I don't know. I mean, I guess I just take it day by day, and I see people. Dusty Gilgis, he was my roommate when I was in college. He worked at Caterpillar. I was an intern at Caterpillar. He had just started, and he remembered he was going through like a facility tour, and he saw pictures of my derby cars in my cubicle. And so he's like, I have to come back and talk to this guy when I'm done with my tour. And so he come back and found me. We were talking, and I said, well, me and a buddy are looking for a place to stay, you know, just roundabout, just kind of conversation. He said, well, I just rented a 3-bedroom house, and it's just me. So we went and looked at it and moved in the next week. Didn't even know the guy, you know, but I knew he liked derby, so he couldn't be too bad. So,
well, obviously.
Right. So, but yeah, it's amazing the people you meet along the way too, you know.
What are who are some of the favorite people you've met throughout the sport of Demolition Derby?
That's tough. There's so many good people, man. I don't know. I'd probably name some people that you wouldn't even know, and a lot of people wouldn't even know because they've come and gone, and not that they've passed away. They've just exited the sport. You chose something different, and maybe they're still a fan, but they don't drive anymore. But I also remember being in my early 20s, seeing guys that I was competing against, slowly retire or get out of it, and wondering why are they doing that, and they're so good, But as I get older, and with CJ, I'm kind of to the point where I am very, very content watching him derby. I almost don't even feel like I need to anymore. I want to, sure, but I love watching him, and especially right now. I tell a lot of people this, like having to be in the car with him because of the rules, because he's only 12. I get just as much enjoyment out of being out of the car as he does, because I'm riding passenger, and to be there right next to him and see and feel the emotions, that's really something special.
So, other than what happened at Whiskey City, what are one of your favorite moments from with CJ in the Derby Cup?
I don't want to tear up saying this, but the last Derby he ran, we were sitting in the car, and he was really nervous. There were probably, I don't know, maybe 15, 18 cars. He's nervous before everyone. He some more than others, but he's just like, what if everybody comes after me? What if this? What if that? And I'm like, CJ, everything's gonna be fine. And I go through our checklist. So every Derby, we always give him something to work on, because he's young and he's learning, and his mind, he's 12, and his mind is like a sponge too. So we give him certain things. Like one Derby, I said, you cannot use your front end until I tell you. You have to use your back end. Just teaching him, you got to go backwards too. And he did really, really, really well. And it started getting heated up a little bit, And I said, okay, drive how you need to drive now. But for the first half of that Derby, I made him use the back end because he just needs to learn to turn around and use it, But anyway, so we were going through. He was sitting there and he was nervous and he was doubting himself. And I said, CJ, remember, put your car neutral during a red flag. Use your back end every chance you can get. Make sure you don't get up against the wall. Make sure I was just going through everything we always go through. And after I was done, I said, I put my fist out and I said, you got this. And he gave me a fist bump, and then he put his hand on my shoulder and he goes, I love you, Dad. That was probably the most special moment. What wasn't a win, wasn't nothing, just me reassuring him, and then he was like, you're right, I know I got this. So that was probably the best moment.
That's just awesome. Do you think like the nerves have started to like go away as times went on with him, or is it just like when he first started?
It comes and goes. It depends. Like if there's a car with a really loud, intimidating engine, that scares the shit out of them. But it just does, and I mean, we can all get intimidated easily. We're all human, But I remind him all the time, CJ, if you feel intimidated, think about how other people feel, against you, especially with a couple of the Mopars he's been driving. They're bigger cars. They are intimidating. Luke does a heck of a job putting them back together, and they look mean. And you can't tell me that those other kids in those classes aren't scared of that. They are. They'll get out of the car and be like, there was no way I was letting you come near me with that front end, Like they get it, And so I just remind them, like, look, everybody's a kid out here. You're all scared, So, but he gets better at it, and I think confidence is a big thing. But I also don't want him to be cocky. There's a difference between confidence and cockiness.
How do you think he often just doesn't? He's too young to learn the direct differences between the two. Because I'm not going to lie to you, I still barely know the differences between the two.
I remind if he says something, I'll tell him. I'm like, hey, simmer down a little bit. That's not the attitude we need, and he's not that way a lot. He's actually very humble. I feel like he doesn't give himself enough credit, but that's all part of growth too. I don't think I give myself enough credit sometimes. People remind me that all the time. But you have to keep your head down. You have to keep working hard, no matter what it is, whether it's work, school, your hobbies, anything.
So is he more of a compact or a full size?
We started him in compact because that was the only thing that he could do at the time. Well, he was really, I guess 9 was the first year he was going to drive. I messaged him or called him maybe, and I said, look, he's been driving my cars around the yard and stuff since he was 5. I know he's small, but I think he can handle a car. Can you run the Bash for Cash youth class? And Tim agreed. Well, COVID happened, so really looking back, he was tiny when we were filming the first part of season 2. And so I'm glad it happened because it delayed a year. He grew a little bit, and he was still pretty small when he was 10 and drove his first one. But I'm telling you what, Bash for Cash compacts are no joke. Youth compacts are no joke. They're nasty. and even the second Derby, we broke I guess the coil wire or something popped off right off the bat. So it was a short-lived run. But he had high spirits out of it. He was just happy he got to try the Derby. And his instincts kicked in immediately. Like I was impressed even though it was 3 to 4 minutes, his instincts kicked in immediately on how to drive. I'm like, wow, this could be fun, So we went to the Iowa State Fair, fixed the car, went to Iowa State Fair, and he placed 3rd there. Just ran out of car, got hot. But that was another crazy one. There were 2 or 3 kids that got out of the cars hurt because there was a kid just teeing off right and left on people. And I said, he's like, we're going to get hurt. And I said, just keep moving. Just keep driving. I don't care if all you do is drive in circles and just hit somebody on your way by. If you don't want to get hit by him, keep moving. That's it. So.
Dude, I'm glad he didn't get to run before COVID because that means he would have been the only person that I know that would have ran younger than me.
Right. Yeah.
I'm doing my first one when I was 10.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm just glad I still have the record.
Yeah. Cool. Well, he tied you. He was 10 too, but yeah. Nine's very young. It's probably a good thing. Like the thing is there is such a thing as too young and just not ready because unfortunately, like I said at the Iowa one, where a couple of those kids got hurt, they might never Derby again because if they were 10 or 11. It scared the crap out of them. They might not ever get in a car again, and that's not what it's about. The youth. That's what I think. That young driver, I don't even remember who it was. And there's a few of them out there that they like to run hard, and that's great. That's what the sport needs to put on a show and all that. But you have to remember that a lot of these kids, how young and how small they are, if you scare them, they're not going to be in the sport, and our sport needs the drivers.
Oh, for sure.
So.
Like I remember I would have been like 12 or 13 maybe. And it was our fair, and our fair is a huge track, and it used to have a huge car count. Mm-hmm. And the youth class used to be full, and the track used to be full. I got full tracked one night when I was like 10, and like I'm not gonna lie, like I think I was 12. 12 because that makes sense. So I get full tracked, and it was in the back, and I didn't see it coming.
Yeah, those hurt.
I think I cried that night. I'm not gonna lie to you, it was bad. But then, like, it was the next year we were running. I think it was like a local show, Medina County Fair, and I was terrified to go out on that track. Like I'm telling my dad, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do. Let's just go home.
Yeah.
All I remember is him telling me, "Shut up and just go Derby." That's all I remember from that night. And might have got down towards the end of it. I don't really remember. But I mean, if I didn't do that, I would have missed out on a lot of great memories and a lot of great experience.
Right.
So how did you get into the Derby, the broadcasting side of everything?
I would say 2014 or 15, somewhere in there. 2013 or 14, I kind of saw just a void in the DVD market. There was a huge gap between the time that the Derby was and then the time that the DVDs were being released because they took a long time to edit. And I just thought, how can this take so long? It was like it got to the point where it was like a month and a half, 2 months, and I'm not saying anything bad about anybody. Maybe the amount of editing they did, it really just took that long. Maybe they had maybe this was just a side gig and they had a full-time job, and so it was everything they could do to get it out that quickly. But me running a business, I saw an opportunity that I thought, okay, let me try it, and so I bought equipment and DVD burners and things, and we printed. Another thing that was most of the time, it was just like handwritten, Spring Explosion 2020 or 2013, handwritten with a Sharpie on the disc. Well, I bought a printer to print, nice covers and nicely on the disc, just make it really look professional. And when we did that, we vowed to have the DVD released 1 week after the event. And we didn't do any editing. We just kind of did one wide view because if you want it quick, then that's how we're going to do it. We didn't want to do a bunch of different camera views, editing, all that stuff. And it didn't last long because really the other people that were in the space, they didn't want me there, obviously. And we also offered Blu-rays, by the way. So it actually, if anything, it upped their game. They started getting their stuff out sooner, and they kind of sharpened their prices a little bit. And I lost interest and just kind of said, well, okay, whatever. And so I had some camera stuff laying around, and I want to say, I don't remember what year it was. Sam would know because he did it. Sam broadcast Blizzard Bash in the fall. And so then that spring, I'm like, well, if Sam can do that, I'm going to see if it's going to be harder, but I'm going to see if I can do some outdoor derbies. And so just started researching, putting some parts together, and it took a lot of time and effort and growing pains and research and development and buying the wrong stuff and upgrades and from where it was to we basically streamed with one camera, a laptop, and a Dazzle, which I don't even remember what a Dazzle is actually used for, but it wasn't supposed to be used for streaming. But we figured out that it worked. It was basically a USB input into the laptop, and that's how we started. But you got to start somewhere. And now today we have 2 production trailers, with tens of thousands of dollars worth of equipment. It's pretty neat to see.
So what do you think your favorite part about the entire side of that is?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's a lot of stress, but one thing that I did learn over time is you have to. It was very tough for me because I did everything myself for a long time, and so now my production crew, I have 5 guys on staff full time. It was hard for me to let go of those things because I like to have my hands in everything. Everything that has my name on it, I want to approve it, but I can't do it anymore. There's too much, and so you just have to really put your trust in the people that work for you, and my entire crew, they are awesome. Like, they each have their pluses, they each have their minuses. We all do, but they all bounce off each other and work together so well. And if one's down, the other 3 bring them up, and I can't thank all of them enough. Like, it doesn't even. I'm not even talking about production. I'm talking about like video production. I'm talking about even embroidery production, and like everybody that works for me, they're all amazing.
That's awesome. So going from that, how'd you meet Steve Buckman?
Steve and I met Steve a long time ago, and we crossed paths quite a few times, and and especially with the internet, we probably on the We Crash message boards and things like that. But him and I really got hooked up, if you will, for the broadcasting stuff at Spring Explosion. Oh, I don't remember what year it was. I want to say maybe 16 or 17. And it was tough at first because he lived on the East Coast, and so it was just kind of, well, we'll pick some derbies that I think is going to make enough to afford to have this added travel expense. But I fell in love with the voice of Steve Bucknam. I love his voice on a microphone. I think he is one of the best. I don't know, and working with him is just, it's magic to watch him sometimes. Like, seriously, we did, when we were down at Battle of Daytona, I tried doing a Derby Eats episode, and I was terrible. Like, we did 40 or 50 takes, and I kept fumbling over everything. And then we go to Sturgis a month later, and we do a Derby Eats episode at the Feed Mill, which if you've never eaten there, you need to. It's really, really good Cajun food. But and so I'm like, I was terrible at this. Steve, you should do it. And so I'm just like, here's the things you need to do when you talk about, the gumbo, the this, the that, and whatever. And so Steve stands at the front door. He rambles off an entire intro. He's like, let's go on in. He opens a door. Like, it was just like smooth as glass. And we go, like, everything he did, I'm like, I don't know how he does it. You just throw something at him, and he's just like, give me a couple minutes. He just kind of reads through it, sorts his thoughts. Okay, I'm ready. And it's perfect almost every time. So he's really talented.
That's like when I was out there on live within a Blizzard Bash, like the production going on there, I don't think anybody realizes. Like, yeah, right. It doesn't look very like crazy, from the outside, just looking in the little press box. But behind that, you got how many guys do you guys have there? At least 3 or 5.
There's 1, 2, 3. There's 4, at least 4 in there at all times. So, yep.
And like Steve paying so much attention to everything. Like, I forget what it was, but it was somebody. It was one of the cars that just gotten out, but it wasn't like showing on the thing.
Yep.
And like every time that happened, if it wasn't gone within the matter of like 10 seconds, he would be yelling, like muting and yelling through the curtain at the guys. Like,
right.
It was like, I couldn't believe it. It was insanity.
Yep. Well, Steve is actually, when he does our productions, he usually is the one that has the laptop to mark them out. So he's kind of used to it. And so I think, but every production is different. And especially there, I'm actually not even a producer there. Billy takes over for that. I'm not really involved in the production in any way. But anyway, so there they chose to have it done behind the scenes instead of Steve. I think it might have something to do with the room on your guys' desk there too, because it's small. But he's used to it. So I think that was part of it too, is like, if he sees a car out, it's that name's coming off the list, but 10 seconds is driving him nuts. And I probably don't blame him if it's something you're just used to doing, so.
So what do you like more? Do you like the Derby T side of it, or do you like the Derby Nation side of
it? That's a good question. I actually, I am actually pretty hands off of both sides at this point. Part of the reason is, I spent a lot of time, building the team that I have in order to be able to do this, because spending time with CJ, my son, is very important to me, and I have him every other week. And so if I have him, I try to stay home or make arrangements to bring him with me. And you can't always do that. So, because school is very important too. So I built the team up enough and trained. Billy can produce, Steve can produce, Ben can produce, Dom can produce. We have 4 guys that are capable of doing it, including me. But I'm a little bit afraid that they've actually made so many upgrades. We'd have to go back to a more basic layout if I was going to do it, because I haven't done it in a while. I'm sure I could learn it. But it's nice to have those people, because the thing is if I got hit by a bus tomorrow, the show's got to go on, and one person can't know everything. That's definitely something that I've learned. So
going from the show, how did you guys start the Derby builds then?
Derby Builds came about because, with just the whole Derby Nation platform and DTV, I wanted a way to be able to develop more content that wasn't just live derbies and replays of derbies, because we had this subscription idea, but without enough content for it, there's no value to pay for a subscription. And so I wanted to develop some sort of TV show type thing. And there's nothing really out there. There's been the Kings of Crash and a few of those things, but they've been short-lived, and it's nothing that any of those guys did wrong. It just TV is being on like Discovery Channel, national TV, Velocity, whatever. It's the big leagues, and if they don't want you, it don't matter. You can't even beg. They already said no. And so that's why those things don't exist anymore. And they unfortunately just own the rights. And if they want to just put it on the shelf and never touch it again, that's what they do. And that's what they have done, from what I understand. But anyway, Derby Builds, the original idea was to film other drivers, not me. I don't think I'm that great. But I couldn't sell the concept to anybody. Nobody wanted to do it. And I don't get it. Or I don't blame them, because they don't want to show what they do to their cars. They have their secrets. Or they just don't want to put themselves out there like that. And so the more I thought about it, I'm like, I really, really want to do this. And I guess the only way I can prove to anybody that this concept works is I'm just going to film myself. And so that's how it came about. It wasn't because I wanted all the fame. I didn't want it at all. And actually, it took a very long time for me to be comfortable in front of the camera. I still get nervous sometimes. I still screw things up, especially if because this is reality TV. We don't make up any of the stuff. The only time we ever had to do anything was we lost some footage, so we had to restrip out a car, and then we pretended like we traded it or something. But other than that, we've never had to make anything up, or we never make anything up. We just don't do it. We're like, let's rebuild this because it looks stupid. The reality is, sometimes you screw stuff up and you got to start over. That's reality, and that's what I want to show. And so it's been a experience for sure, trying to be the producer and then the main character. And then it took a while to get used to going places, and people I'm like, why are people looking at me? Oh, because they've seen me before. It's more than just because I actually have been really, really behind the scenes a lot. And especially when I was the only one that would produce a derby for live events, most people probably never even saw me or knew who I was, but I hadn't derbied for a while, so it was a decent story to start off with, getting back into the sport, buying new parts and things. So that's the direction we went.
So how did you get the Luke Schaffner in on all that?
Well, the first season we started, so I didn't have really a derby shop set up at all. And so I was talking to George, and George said, well, hey, Brian Gearhart is in Kingman, Indiana. And I remember him. I met him a long time ago, going to derbies over in Cayuga, Indiana and things. And so we kind of started talking and worked out a deal, a price and on the build and stuff. And so we went over to his shop and built the car. And, they did a lot of wrenching when we weren't there to film, and we had a GoPro set up for just to so you could see the engine get put in, just so we had some shots of some stuff. But I don't remember how many weekends we filmed. We probably drove over there 5 or 6 weekends and filmed for 2 or 3 days. But that was season 1. And then going into season 2, I don't remember really how it worked. Well, I guess season 2 was kind of filmed at the same time. So going into season 3, I think Luke was just running cameras for us here and there, and kind of joked a couple of times about working for me. And Luke is a man of few words, okay, usually. And so, yep. So every time I said it, he might have in his mind said, that'd be cool to work for you, but he never gave me a reaction. Well, finally one day he was like, maybe that might be cool, And so I'm like, well, if you're serious, I'm serious. And so we kind of had to figure out where he was going to fit in, because we're obviously not going to be turning cars out, 40 hours a week, every week. So he helped out in embroidery production a little bit. He's built some cars. He logs video for the broadcasting. And now actually within the past couple months, because he works with RDP and does like 3D modeling. So he models like internal parts for the cars and things. And so I knew that my cars, I've outsourced the drawing of my cars for a long time for our shirts. And I knew that the wheels and tires and bumpers and headers were 3D models and then converted to line drawings. And then, and so I got with Luke and we developed a formula to go from the 3D model to this, to this, to this, to get to this finished project. And then you have to draw around that the rest of the car. And so he's been, I don't know, probably 2 months. I don't know how many cars he's got. I probably should check his progress. But he's drawing cars. He's doing really, really good at it. And so it's just kind of been an evolving position for him. But I really think he enjoys it, and I hope he enjoys it, and I'm really happy to have him on board.
So how did you meet him exactly? Is there like
I'm sorry, yeah. So I met him when he was probably like 6, because I was derbying and probably 2006, I think it was. I had a used car and it was pretty much junk, and I think I was out at the bar one night or something, and his dad was out. And he goes, well, you're running again any more this year? And I'm like, nah, my car's junk. I don't think so. And he goes, it didn't look like it was that junk to me. And so he wanted to look at it. And so I took it out to his house and we spent a day or two. I don't remember how long we took, but he bent it down. He plated it up for me. And so that was probably really Luke was really young then. So I don't know that we really interacted at all, but that was probably that's the first time I really remember Luke, but so he was this tall when I met him, and just as they grew, obviously their dad derbied and they love derby, so once they started into the youth classes, I always reached out and it might not be much, but I gave each of the boys $100 and some decals for the cars every year. Just told them, hey, come in and grab your stickers and your $100. Something I can do to help. So
was he always trying to run? Well, first of all, how many brothers are there exactly?
There's 2 Schaffner brothers. There's a Sean Schaffner. That's actually their uncle. But there's 2 brothers, Ryan and Luke.
So was Luke? He had a car on Derbyville's, right? Or am I thinking about this wrong?
Luke, he had his own car under. Oh yeah, we did. We call them short seasons, so like Schaffner style is what we called it. Yeah. So there's been, I think one's released, one hasn't been released yet. I think it's still in editing.
So let's see. How am I going to say this? So where do you see the future of derby builds and all that going?
Well, we filmed last year what we called season 4, but editing it, we pushed we usually would be releasing a season like within a month here, but we decided because we felt like releasing a season in February runs so much into all the spring shows that we think that maybe it gets a little bit overshadowed, and we're just given too much on the subscription platform at once. So we actually delayed the release of season 4 to June, mid-June, just because that's when the spring season is all done. Now I know that there's going to be a bunch of county fairs and everybody's going to be focused on that, but there's not a bunch of live stuff to overshadow those new episodes coming on. So that's the strategy there, I guess. And with that delay, it gave us some more time to think. And really what we decided, because my season didn't turn out very good. And part of me wants to scrap it, but it's also reality. The reality is you can't win them all. And if you talk to Don, well, we already have talked to Don Santel. He says you can win them all, but you really can't, like things happen, And so season 4, we changed it. Last year when we filmed it, going to be season 4 and season 5. And so season 4 will be about CJ's run, which was at Whiskey City. And then it's going to end with his county fair run in Henry. He got a win there. Spoiler alert.
There goes my subscription fee. I guess I did that.
You got to see how it goes down though. But
I guess so. The icing on the cake's gone now. What are we gonna do?
And we were actually, I was probably the most upset, and I'm not going to say that anybody else didn't care, but things fell apart in the summer a little bit in that too many guys took too much time off, took time off at the same time. And so nobody was available to film one of the derbies, the second derby that CJ won over the summer. And he actually won that 2 years back to back. So that was special in itself.
Oh, yeah.
But then he went on to win 3 more times. He won Princeton, Metal Mayhem, and then Fall of Destruction. So he had 5 wins in a row last year, and we didn't film it all. And that would have been like a really freaking epic season to have 5 wins in a row. But nonetheless, it's still going to be a great season. We have GoPro footage of them all, so we're going to put it together like a 5 win in a row series. We don't know how it's going to look yet. That's what's cool about it is we can just table it for the moment, and then when somebody needs something to work on, now let's figure out how to put it together. But season 5 will be released we think in December, and that'll be the season about me running at Whiskey City. Had a run fall short, lost a front wheel and just didn't go my way. And then I went to the Indiana State Fair, very underbuilt, and you'll have to watch the season to see the rest. But all in all, a very humbling season for me, and it doesn't mean I'm done. But not everything turns out how you want either. And especially for me, it was tough because I'm the driver that was disappointed, and then I'm the producer that was disappointed. Like our plan didn't work, but it's not always going to. So
what do you think makes your season so bad? It can't be that
bad. The thing is you're right. It's not. I was very, very. I think we're all our own worst critics, and I was very hard on myself. And a lot of people reached out to me and said, "Man, you need to go back and watch the tape. You drove just fine until that wheel fell off. What are you going to do from there?" And I went back and because when you're in the car, so if it's an hour derby, it doesn't feel like an hour, So I felt like I was in that car for like 3 minutes, and it was the most piss poor, driving display I'd ever put on. But then you go back and watch it, like, oh, it was way better than that. Okay, that's not so bad. It just time flies so fast that I don't know. I guess there's a lot of weight on my shoulders. I felt like because we're live on my own broadcast, we're filming a TV show, and then just my girlfriend's there. She had never seen a derby before, and I felt like I drove like crap. And all these things mound up, and just I don't know. I felt let down, and like I let a lot of people down, but it's life.
I think those are the best shows because without those shows, winning a show doesn't mean as much.
You're right. You have to have the downs for the wins to be special too. You're right. Go ahead. I was going to say CJ's been very spoiled with some wins, and the thing is he's had his share of disappointments too. Don't get me wrong, I mean he's been lucky. He's very talented, but we'll see what the next season does.
Which, speaking from my own experience, winning repeatedly, it's bad.
Yeah.
Because after, prime example, the beginning of this year, I thought I was Don Santel. Nobody could touch me. I thought I was the guy. I woke up, I was like, I'm the best. That's all there is to it.
Right.
I proceeded to get my ass kicked the rest of the year.
Yep.
Literally terrible for the rest of the year.
Yep.
So now going into this next season, I feel like I have something to prove. So
Sure.
we're back to the garage for every second we have when we're not doing anything else.
Right.
You know?
Yep. But you know what happens though too. I think that you have a win streak, and then people want to end that for you. You know what I mean? And so that it probably doesn't help. And I remind CJ of that at some point it could come to an end. But the thing is we didn't expect to win at least two of those. There's some people derby, and I get this. Some people derby just to derby. They want to tear something up. They want to tear their car up. They want to tear other people up. Some people derby to win. We like to derby to win. CJ wants to junk a car. I always convince him not to. But one of these days, he's going to defy my wishes, and I won't be mad about it. He is going to figure out that he'll have to decide. Is it fun to tear your car up in one derby? Maybe you place, maybe you don't. Or is it fun to get a few derbies and you can win one or two or place here and there? Your choice, but you might only get one derby out of one build. That's the risk you take, I guess.
I know exactly what you're saying. So when I ran the back. It was the second year it would have been the second year we went out, got a whole W body set up. That was a hot thing back then. We went out and I didn't hit a soul the entire night. And then the following year, it was after that big shot I took at the county fair when I didn't want to derby. Like that night, I basically jumped the car, And before that, I wasn't as bad as a bagger as I was after that. But then I'm like, I can't derby all summer long because I went out and drove hard and jumped my car. Sure, maybe 10 people are happy and cheering, but we don't get to derby for the rest of the summer. This is stupid.
Yep.
So after that, I became the biggest bagger there was. Which it's crazy because my dad is the exact opposite. He likes to hit hard, and I'm just like, it is what it is.
Does he remind you of that?
Oh, all the time. We get in arguments all the time. I'll be like, that. You know what, Dad? I was like, you know what? Listen, next time we're on the track, I'm going to give you the business. He's like, no, you're not. You're not going to touch me. What do you mean? What? You're not going to. You're going to let me hit you a few times, then you're going to hit my wheels. That's how it's going to go. You're not going to try to kick my ass. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
So, how many years until you get to run with CJ?
I would say 4, because I would think he'd have to be 16. So 4 years. That's obviously a dream of both of ours. Because I can't remember the circumstance. I might have just been, when I hurt my leg, I got my leg pinned at Whiskey City. I probably said something like, some of this doesn't seem worth it, getting hurt like this and whatever. And he's like, Dad, you can't quit. We have to run at least one team derby together, And so I got a hold to that at least, I got a feeling though, so here's the thing. Back in the day, me and my younger brother, we built a lot of cars together, and we drove. There weren't really team derbies then. If there were, we didn't run them. But how you drive with buddies, right? Okay. So my brother has been one of the best track mates you could ever have. I think that probably is to be said with anybody that has a brother that'll run with them. But it was so much fun running with him. He was always had his eye on you. You always had your eye on him. And it just having somebody that always has your back makes it really fun, I've run with a few people that are the same way, but then sometimes it's like you think you're running with somebody that's going to do that, and then they don't, and I get it. There's multiple deals made on the track, when at Whiskey City, the first year, knew Jody, I can't think who they were now, but I knew 3 or 4 people instantly that were just hands down, yes, I'm running with them, don't need to talk to anybody else. And then 7 more people come up, and there's only 14 in the heat. I don't got anybody to hit if I keep saying yes, or because so at some point it's just like, hey, look, I'll look out for you, but I can't guarantee nothing, and that was kind of the way my heat went down last year at Whiskey City. A lot of Missouri guys in there. Rob Hewer, I went straight to him. He was the best one I knew, or the one I knew most, I guess I would say. And he said, "Oh man," he goes, I'll look out for you. I won't completely smoke you, but there's 5 other guys there from my area, and I'm gonna run with them, And I get it. I absolutely get it. At that point, you're on the short end of the stick,
So what made you decide to go out to Whiskey City?
Well, Whiskey City is only 45 minutes from here, so short drive. CJ, so we sponsor the hockey team that plays there in the arena, so we go there all the time. And CJ had this dream of like before Derby, like we didn't even know there was going to be a Derby there, and CJ just was like, we would need to have a Derby in here. There needs to be a Derby in here, And I was at a hockey game one day, and I sent pictures of the arena to Sam and just said, you should have a Derby here. And a couple months later, he's like, hey, I got a meeting at the Civic Center, So because he didn't actually strike that. I think it was quite a long time ago before he retired the first time, because he had Blizzard Bash, and I knew that it was a sister, or it was also managed by the same company at that time. They were both managed by the same company. I sent him a picture a long time ago, and he's like, ooh, interesting. So then fast forward to when he was coming back, he had his sights on that arena to make the comeback, I think. I mean, I'm not going to speak for him completely, but that's kind of how I remember it working.
So how long have you known Sam, or how did you guys meet?
Him and I met in 2008 or 9. No, 2007, I think. Whatever the first New Year's Eve team derby was in Council Bluffs. I don't know if it was Council Bluffs or if it was Lincoln, Nebraska. But whichever one was the first one was when we met. And we didn't have a lot of interaction at first. I kind of dealt with his business partner at the time. And so, like I said, I didn't have a lot of interaction with him until probably 2010. And from there, I think him and I think a lot alike, on business wise. And I don't know. I think we have a good working relationship.
I get you. So real quick, I was scrolling along, and I believe this was one of the first. Well, let's see. We'll go there.
Yeah.
So, what year was this exactly?
Let's see. What event is that? Actually, that looks like a garage sale. Or no. Let's see. Where? I can't even tell where that's at. That might be in Kentucky, maybe.
It was in 2012.
2012. I'm not sure where that's at even.
So, and then I have a few more. Let's see here. So, here, drop this down here. This is 2013. And it loads in.
That is in Sturgis, Kentucky.
So was that one of the first big shows you guys did?
Be Redneck Rumble. No, I mean the first show I ever sold shirts at was Jerseyville, and that was considered a big money show. Randy Schwarzkopf won it. I remember that specifically because I remember hearing the name Randy Schwarzkopf for a long time, and that was like the first time that, at least I remember. When you watch people derby, they wear helmets, so you don't know what they look like. Okay. And so I remember seeing a picture of Randy Schwarzkopf on the top of his car, I don't remember if he was holding his trophy or just had his fist up or what, but I remember seeing a picture. I'm like, that's what he looks like. Huh. And so that's always stuck in my mind. And that's always been a part of being, doing the live broadcasting is people need to meet the drivers. They need to see them. They need to see what they look like. They need to relate. I think that's what what draws people in is being more personable and knowing and seeing who they are, you know.
So is that why you guys started the driver download, and why you guys always do the like in the pits interviews and all that stuff?
Yeah, you know, we're always trying to change things up, make things different, keep it fresh. So the driver download was something that we tried first at Tarrant, Tennessee. It was just something that really we called it the RDP download for that just because they're a supporter and a sponsor for the season. And then moving forward, we kind of just made it generic so that we could use it on multiple platforms. But that's why is because there's more to just Trevor Jones in a Derby car. What makes Trevor Jones work? What does he do for a living? What is he like? Oh, he has kids. That's cool. You know, like you don't know these things about a lot of drivers, and to me, that's more relatable to be like, wow, this guy spends so much time building cars. We beat the crap out of each other, but he's a father too. You know what I mean? And maybe that means more to me because I'm a father. You don't know what that feels like yet, but it's a special thing. And but just anything, I think it's very interesting to see what everybody's profession is. You know, it's amazing all different walks of life we all come from. You know, I don't think it matters. You know, how much you make. If you make $15 an hour or $50 an hour or $150 an hour, we all have the same passion.
Demolition Derby cars all the way, you know.
Right.
So this next one.
That was Metal Mayhem. We did we printed some just white shirts with black ink on those, just a design, and then we had fabric markers for the kids to color.
So how did you guys come up with that idea?
You know, I really don't know. Other than really probably what year is that?
It was. I think I want to say it was 2013 because that's when we're
okay. So CJ would have been 2 there, and so really probably just him coming up, you know, growing up and being around things that you can buy for kids. We probably got the idea from, you know, seeing a shirt you can color somewhere else and said that we should do this. You know,
that's me. Yeah. Oh, I just realized I'm in this picture.
Yeah, I forgot we did that. We should bring that back.
Bring it on back. I think that'd be a great thing, like Blizzard Bash or Gold Rush.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely something we should bring back. Okay. Even if because we did that free. I don't remember how many we had. You know, a couple dozen, or I don't know, maybe 50. But that'd even be something that we ought to just have some available. It'd be fun just to buy for a Christmas or birthday gift for a kid to color on, you know. And remember I told you I had big news to announce?
Oh yeah, announce the big news.
Can we do it?
Why not?
So it's actually I'm still a little bit frustrated. This is the reason I had an okay day, Scotty. It's a huge challenge right now, but I made a really, really big investment for the Derby Tees brand for Klein Design. I bought one of the best printers money can buy. It's a digital garment printer. We can do it'll print full color, so it'll be unlimited colors. You don't have to skimp and say, well, to save money, I'll just do white, black, gray, and blue. You can have as many colors as you want. So it's going to really, really elevate our game with the way we can design, the colors we can provide, and we'll be able to print on demand everything. So we can, for me, looking at it from a business standpoint, we can reduce inventory, but we have all these holes in our inventory where we're out of smalls and mediums in this, or out of 2Xs in that. And now, as soon as we get this printer up and running, we can offer every size available all the time, because we don't have to set up a set of screens and run, 48 of them. We can load one and print it and ship it tomorrow.
So is that how you guys were doing them before that, screen printing? Or
Yeah, screen printing. Everything is screen printed, and everything is stocked in our building. Probably $500,000 in inventory, and it is a bear to keep up with and manage. And we're running out of space, and so it was a huge leap of faith, and big financial risk, but I felt the need to take it. So here we are, gonna go for a ride.
There's no easy way out, I suppose.
Right. So with that being said, it's going to make it easier to have. You could have, like, those coloring shirts, for example. You could have 50 different designs, but I don't have to stock any of them. You just have them available, and as soon as they tell us which style they want, what size, we can order one blank from Chicago, get it tomorrow, print it, ship it the next day. So it'll be nice.
Hell yeah! So is that going to affect the pricing and everything?
No, it will not affect pricing. Everything will stay pretty much the same as if you were buying online now and it was in stock. The way it will affect pricing is it will improve pricing for all of our custom shirts, because we do a lot of custom shirts for teams, for promoters, for the officials, things like that, and even just regular business, any regular business. With COVID and I hate that excuse, but that's just, ever since 2020, prices have gone up on everything. Labor, insurance, you name it, everything is up. And so with that, we outsource all of our screen print. It's just the way it is, because to keep up with the demand that we do, I'd have to double my labor force and have a bunch of machines that I don't have room for. So it just makes sense for me to do business the way I do it. But with the rising costs, our prices aren't that good to sell bulk screen print. So this machine is going to really help us be able to offer more reasonably priced bulk quantity shirts for drivers, for businesses, promoters, etc.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Right.
And then, so I have a comparison. We had Blizzard Bash in 2013.
Yep.
And then,
and that's pretty impressive if you think about 2013. Like, I remember doing that. I spent a bunch of money on that grid wall. That was a pretty big investment at that time.
So we had Blizzard Bash in 2013.
Yep.
And then here's 2023.
Yep, that would be, that's an upstairs booth. Do you have one of the downstairs with a trailer?
I think I can get it.
It's okay if you don't, but yeah, a lot more styles. We've come a long way in our displays, for sure.
Did you ever think it would get that big?
No, honestly, like, I don't even know. I don't even know where I would have thought the line would have been drawn. It's a challenge sometimes, because we have multiple shows on the same weekend, and when you have to do merch and live broadcasting in two places, that's essentially 4 crews you have to have, and I don't even have enough trucks and trailers to pull it off half the time. Last year we had Whiskey City and the Wicked Team Derby on the same weekend. I actually spent the week prior. We took a trailer down. I didn't do it. Steve drove a trailer down. I believe it was Steve, to drop a trailer, and then he came back, and then they pulled. Yep, there you go. And then he pulled, or then we pulled a live stream trailer down, and then actually to get that trailer back, Wendell Bowman has. I don't remember, a cousin or something like that lives, I don't know, an hour from me. And so he just like, I'll bring your trailer back. So he pulled the trailer back from Kentucky last spring and visited his cousin, and he wouldn't take a penny from me. And so I mailed him, I don't remember if I mailed it or I think I might have gave it to him, but I gave him a decent sized Cracker Barrel gift card. I messaged his son. I said, what kind of food does Wendell like? And he said, well, really, they like eating at mom and pop places, but if you're going to buy a gift card, get Cracker Barrel. And so I got him a Cracker Barrel because I guess Trevor Pedke's mom works there, and so Wendell loves going there to talk to Trevor's mom. So small world.
That's awesome. So one thing I want to bring up is this design right in between us right here. So that's what the Derby Girl thing.
There we go. Yeah.
So where did that all come from? How was that?
Well, so Derby Girl is just kind of a standard thing, but my sister, I told you, is my production manager, and she oversees all of our embroidery. So one thing that a lot of people probably don't know about us is we have a really big production shop. We actually just doubled our square footage last year to expand that and make room so we could be more efficient. We have room for more machines if we need. But so we do a lot of embroidery production. Like we can do thousands of pieces a week. Okay. And so the stuff you see there, the Derby Girl, all those sweatshirts are embroidered with our machines. And so I kind of just let her take the women's line and run with it because I'm not a woman. I have my opinion on what looks good on a woman, but I'm not every woman, right? Or I don't. I mean, she's not every woman either, but you know what I'm saying? A female has more of the eye or the knack for it. And so I really don't even give my opinion anymore because I just trust her to do, she knows what's in the style. She knows what colors, you know, every now and then there'll be something that doesn't sell. But we make adjustments, we move on. But she does a really good job with it. I love it. And we actually, another thing that some people probably don't know is we do fulfillment for IMCA. If you don't know what IMCA is, it's the largest sanctioning dirt track racing in the United States. And so we do online fulfillment for them. And so she developed one similar that says, I think it says IMCA girl. But she loves doing that stuff. She loves coming up with new cute things. And I love just watching her kind of, you know, flourish and take it.
Speaking of dirt track, do you ever think, could you ever see derbying becoming something like dirt track?
You know, this is an ongoing debate, and it's tough, man. Everybody thinks they know where they want it to go or where they see it should go, but I don't think anybody knows what it can or should be, or what it would really be like when it got there. I hate to be negative about it, but what's wrong with the way it is? You know, I get it. Rules are different. They're spread out everywhere, but they always have been. The thing that I think has been challenging lately is there are at least say 5 or 10 years ago, there was full size, compact, and I don't even know if minivan really didn't exist 10 years ago, but there was really just like full size and compact and maybe like there was a heavy build. But now there's so many there's so many different classes, and the names are all, you know, light weld, bone stock, big car motor swap, and I don't know. Those all mean the same thing, but they're named. Why are they named different? It's just the area you're in, and that's somehow how they named them. I don't know. But if you looked at the rules, they're probably really close, except for this one allows a cradle. This one allows a, you know, extra body mount, or, you know, there's just small differences. And I don't know. I really don't think you're ever going to really change that. I hate to be the negative one about it. Would it be nice to see it? Absolutely. There's just so many promoters out there, and they all have their following. They know what works for their region, and it's going to be almost impossible to sway the Northeast to change, or the far West to change, or even the Midwest. You know, just everybody's so different.
I think when it comes to that, I don't believe that. I think we all think it'd be cool to see it there, see it like NASCAR, see it on the biggest stage. But at the same time, though, do we really want it there? Like when I was talking about the other night, you brought up a great point about how it's not going to be the same. You're not going to be able to go manipulate and cheat the rules because you're just going to get loaded. It's just not going to be tolerable.
Yeah. Yep.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, here's what I said this to a Derby driver, probably 5 or 6 years ago, and his reaction was basically a deer in headlights. I said, "Listen, I won't name names, but I said, listen, if Derby became NASCAR, because that was the conversation with him was, how do you think we can make it be NASCAR?" I said, if Derby became NASCAR, and there's 50 big name drivers in NASCAR, okay? I said, what if, and you think that you're good enough to be one of them, what if you were number 51? What if you didn't make the cut? Only 50 guys get to be on that stage. Not there's 5,000 of us, okay? Only 5,000 or only 4,950, or only 50 out of those get to be on the stage. Everybody else has to sit back and be like, well, this sucks. Now what? Now we just have to be fans, So is it where you want to be? That was my, and he was just kind of deer in headlights, like, oh, I never thought of it that way, because they're not going to necessarily just pick like, you're the best, you're the best, you're the best, you're the best. They're going to say, that guy looks good on camera. That guy has a great smile. That guy can talk. That guy can talk. That guy, that's things that they look at too. If you all are pretty equal Derby guys, Derby drivers, I think that they start looking at who can engage the camera best. That's how I see it.
I never thought of that side of it.
It wouldn't be. I don't think it would be a lottery and just be like, okay, we have the best. Now let's just draw names, because they don't. I don't think they would want. I don't think they would want people that are just going to be like this. Like, you won the race.
Yeah, I did. I'd like to thank the team. I think Crew, my engine builder. He did a great job.
And that's not saying, that's not trying to disrespect anybody, because we all have our own personalities. I sometimes don't want to talk to anybody. Like, I get social anxiety sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, nobody's perfect. Nobody is perfect at all. And so that's not speaking bad about anybody. And it's not everybody's cup of tea to be in front of a camera or to have that attention. Like, do you want a Derby and you want to win Metal Mayhem or a Blizzard Bash? And once you do, then it's like, oh crap, now everybody knows who I am. Now everybody sees me. But that's something you got to take with it, I guess. But to go to the next level, if you're not willing to embrace it, I think that's where you'll fall short.
I know exactly what you're saying. So in the beginning, you're just like, you have nothing. You're basically looked at as a nobody.
Yeah.
But then as you start going up and as you start climbing the ladder, you're like, wow, it just gets crazier and harder, and then the haters and the amount of, it just gets 10 times more difficult. And then you're like, why the hell did I want this?
Right.
This is dumb.
Yeah.
But then the competition side kicks in and was like, hold on, okay, I deserve to be here. Okay.
Right.
We're here for a reason. So then the competition side and the ego side, and it all just takes over. And then that's where I truly think that I have the most fun with it, is when I'm put in situations that it truly shows how good you actually are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which finding those situations it can be a bit scary, Mm-hmm. Like, if I find myself in Blizzard Bash this year, that's going to be a blessing and terrifying at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I drove Blizzard Bash. Was not on the team bracket or anything, but I drove Blizzard Bash in 2012. In the 80s, they call it's the limited weld now, but in 2012 there wasn't as many protectors and all that. But it was just in the singles class there, and I placed second. I got hung up at the end, but it was fun. It was an experience. It's cool to be in an arena, for sure. I mean, I guess I drove in Peoria twice too. It's really, really cool being in an arena.
Could you ever see yourself being on like a national team or anything like that, something like that?
Well, after season one, I think Derby builds. We were kicking around ideas for the next season or future seasons. We have actually some off the wall ideas. Derby Builds Australia, stupid stuff.
Hold on. We gotta go back to that real quick.
That's more of a joke one. But we can waste a half an hour in the office talking about something stupid that never happened because because if you think about I don't know what's the Housewives or whatever, how they change cities and that, so we're like, oh, we should make a Derby Builds Down Under in Australia or something, but you think about the production costs for that, it probably ain't gonna happen, we have a really, really good idea. I don't want to talk about it other than just make people really wonder, but there's one that if we could pull it off, it would blow people's minds. I don't want to tell anybody about it because it's still something I think is possible, and it would be a really, really, really cool season. So that one I'm not going to give any more hints on. But I always sidetrack every question of yours. What was the original question for that?
I think so. I think it was something about could you see yourself running Blizzard Bash on the?
Oh yes. So one of the ideas that I spitballed was I should see if I can get on a national team, and that would be great for Blizzard or for Derby Builds because it's a really in-depth build and whatever. But honestly, running Whiskey City, that build is pretty heavy. I mean, it's not the heaviest, but it was the heaviest build I ever ran. And it's not for me, honestly. It's just not. I didn't like it that much. Especially once we fixed it, made it harder, and I ran it toward the end of the year. I got knocked out, and I'm not going to say that I'm not scared to get back in the car because obviously I've gotten in the car 10 more times. But just that hard of a car, I felt the toll it takes on my body that one time, and I don't know that I need to feel it again. Maybe that's me just being too responsible of an adult, but that's how I feel about it. I think I'd rather stick to more of the bone stock type builds for myself. And obviously every kid, look at you, CJ wants to run mod cars and stuff because that's what you see on the national level, and that's what gets all the attention. So and CJ wants attention, you want attention. Everybody, all young kids definitely want attention, right? That's the one thing that I'd probably would maybe say, or even let's call it constructive criticism for the youth drivers. They can't do everything to their car. Especially if you're 12. Okay, the older you get, the more you can do, and the more you're willing to do and learn. And because when you're really young, your attention span is like that. Okay. So we push CJ to work as much as we can in his car, but at some point he's still just a kid. Okay. And he wants to go climb on a rock pile outside the shop, not be in it, or he'd rather sweep for a while or just screw around, I don't know. So, but that's a kid and that's okay. But the one thing that he always wants to do, he's like, why can't we crease our fenders? That's constructive criticism that I would say is you should let the kids do some fender creasing, whether it's just quarter panels or maybe if you don't want the quarters because they'll get sucked in too far and you'll make ramps and all those things, at least do the front fenders. What is it really going to hurt? But it's going to give the kids a sense of pride and they want it to look more like a mod car. And what's it really going to hurt if the front fenders are creased? It's not, I don't think it's going to hurt a lot. And that's something that easily any kid could put their mind to.
I know exactly what you're saying. The first car I ran was a Cavalier I got. Literally, the first thing I did was crease the rear quarter.
See, exactly. Yep.
I don't know what it is, but it's even now I spend weeks on a truck. Mm-hmm. It's a very enjoyable but yet painful process.
Right, but I feel like a lot of kids would want to do it. But if there's reasons that I don't see. And I get it. Maybe the dads will just be like, "Oh yeah, he did that himself," and they go way overboard. I get that too, But I'm guilty of it. I give CJ the best of the best. I've invested a lot of money into his setups, but no different than I invest into my own. And I don't know that it's direct fire to me, but it's all generally on youth threads. But it's definitely to fathers like me, I suppose. But the thing that I would say to that is that just because I choose to spend a lot of money on a setup doesn't mean that he's spoiled. Well, it does mean he's spoiled, but it doesn't mean that he doesn't earn a win, because you still have to get in that car and you have to drive it. Are we taking away some of the possibilities of a broken axle or the engine dying? Like, sure, but anything can still happen. Okay, we battle carb issues. I had to tear valve covers off and change gaskets, and like, we have problems too. You know, we still have to fix things. But the thing is, you know, after this last season, CJ had a lot of success with that Fushi engine, and well, Guard, you know, Fushi. But the last show of the year, he ended up winning again. But the kid he beat had a brand new Fushi, and it's badass. Okay, sounded mean, and he was definitely going to be the one to beat, and he ended up having a fuel leak. So the only reason that not the only reason that CJ won, but the only reason that the battle ended sooner than it should have was because of that fuel leak. Otherwise, we were up against an engine that wasn't going to die just like ours. You know what I mean? But since then, CJ is like, I want a new Fushi because that sounded way better than mine. And I'm telling him no. And here's the reason: because we already have enough for almost 3 setups. We don't need another engine. So you know what his response is, though? He says, okay, I'm going to save my own money. I'm going to save $11,000. I'm going to buy that myself. Okay. That's the lesson that you teach your kid is, okay, so just because I did spoil him in the beginning, I'm not going to just go spend another 11 grand because he wants to. If he wants it now, what I did teach him is to appreciate the nice things and see the value in them too. And don't cut corners. Go straight for the best thing that's gonna give you the best results. That's my opinion.
So this reminds me of a story. So you know Penwell's, Cam and Tony and Billy.
Yep.
So when Cam won the Bash, so he had a brand new Sam Hammond motor in that car. The story behind that motor, no, it was the first one. It was a Christmas present, but at the Bash, he blew it up when he won. The thing was locked tight, and I remember seeing that thing. It was making engine sounds I didn't even know it was possible.
Right.
It sounded like a clock, and I didn't know that was a thing. Yeah. So when he got his engine rebuilt, he saved up money for the Bash for that new engine all year long. There's a picture. I think there's a picture somewhere, or I might just be going crazy with it. But Cam literally had every change, every crinkled up dollar bill, like literally everything, and he counted all. I forget, like $8 grand, something. All 8. Let's just use $8 grand as an example. He laid it out all on the bench at Sam's workshop and paid for that motor all by himself.
Right.
But since Tony's so successful when it comes to business and he has all the stuff, nobody thinks that's true. Nobody thinks it's going to work for anything. Which I know, kid loves Derby more than I do. Right. And so he worked his ass off for that motor. Yeah. Nobody. Yeah. Since he had a little bit of like parental help, nobody cares. You know. Right.
Right. The thing is everybody's got to start somewhere. And could he have started with all basic stuff like I did? Absolutely. But the thing is we're all every parent's guilty of it in some way, shape, or form. We all want our kids to have a little bit better than we did. You know what I mean? I didn't have a bad upbringing at all. My parents treated me great, but I didn't even try to derby when I was that young. I didn't know it wasn't even a thing that possible. But it's something that I choose to do, and I rarely drink. I don't smoke. I save a lot of money doing that. So, we can compare bank accounts however you want, but it doesn't really matter. It's how I choose to spend my money. And I'm not near as well off as people might think. Like, I'd trade monthly payments with anybody any day of the week because it takes a lot. I mean, I've made a lot of personal sacrifices to have a business, to keep my employees, for the Derby, to provide Derby shirts for the Derby World. Like it's something I chose to do, and I enjoy it, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. Could I be better off doing something else? Possibly, but this is what I like to do.
So are you in the same tax bracket as like Jason Brudinski or like Gay Sumner?
I have no idea what they make.
Apparently Jason's a millionaire. I don't know. He says he's down with the rest of us. But
I don't know. I don't know anything about that. I'm nowhere close to. I have at least $1 million in debt, so I can relate to that. I mean, at least I got $1 million somewhere, just in the wrong direction.
Oh, that's awesome. So you should, Derby Nation always sponsors them. So how did you guys know Jason and all that? Or how did that all come to be with teams like Derby Nation?
Well, I mean, I don't remember when I met Jason, but like I said, this past 20 years has been a blast, but flown by for me. So to pinpoint the moment I met Jason or Gage, that's tough. But I would say Ryan. Ryan sticks out to me because he had like a breakout Metal Mayhem in, what was that? 2000. Oh man, it was Pecatonica 2012 or something, where he took out every person in his heat in a Crown Vic. He was like one of the only Crown Vics at Metal Mayhem that year, and it was just unbelievable. That was the year that I met Ryan. I believe Jason was right there alongside him, probably. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to really put a finger on the exact moment that I met him, but I mean, we all know who they are. They're great guys. For as popular as they are, they're not arrogant. They're not jerks. They would give you anything that you need at a moment's notice. So every single one of them. I pitted next to Gage at River City my first year, and I borrowed wrenches. I borrowed this and that. Like never didn't blink an eye. Just here you go.
Gage for sure is a great guy. Like which that is one of the coolest things about doing all this stuff. Like, this is the first time I've talked to like 90% of these interviews that I've done, other than the first like 5, I don't know any of you people. This is the first time I've talked to you, or more than like what, maybe 10 minutes at most.
Yeah.
Which it's a really cool thing to like just literally sit down and talk to people and just have these conversations be for everybody in the Derby world,
Yeah. I don't know if you remember this, but it was a few years ago. Do you remember when Darby Sprinkles or Kerry Squires, however people know him, he built a minivan and I ran it there at I don't remember. It was in Ohio. It was at a fall show. But anyway, I was on the wrong side of the track, and I think I left my helmet at the live stream trailer, and you happened to be right there because you're neighbors with him, right? I think
we're pretty close locally.
Okay.
Yeah, we're
so you happen to be right there or something. I'm like, man, I gotta get back to the trailer and get my helmet. And you're like, oh, I'll give you a ride. And so you gave me a ride, and I just remember it was in a little RZ. I think it was just a little RZR or something. And you go, you're Mark Derby Tees, right? And I said, yep. And you just like, you looked at me, and then you just looked away and drove, sped up, and you were just smiling, like grinning ear to ear, like, wow, this is cool. I just remember that. I don't know why, but you're little, and I just remember that. But I remember designing team shirts for you guys, for your dad. And they had me put the little Tykes car on there with Scotty below it. Do you remember that?
I completely remember that. I shirt somewhere. I don't remember where that shirt is. Now you mention that. How many like shirts like that do you think you've made?
Custom team shirts?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. It'd be even hard for me to pull up a folder and see, because everything is by for the teams, it's all by customer name. But if I go into my Derby Tees folder, properties, and if I select every year worth of design files, it's still populating. might be a bit.
So one question I want to ask you. So when you do all the like event shirts for like Blizzard Bash and Gold Rush,
Yep.
how did you? Well, hold on, let me backtrack a little bit. How did you come up with the design for Blizzard Bash? How it's all the drivers' name? Where did that idea come from?
The names. That was probably, I don't know if if we did that the first year or two, but I think it was probably a Sam idea. It was just like, it started off with just the national teams only, and it was just like, hey, you think we can put the drivers' names on there to kind of like give them some recognition, and maybe it'll help sell more shirts, because if their name's on it, they got to have it, type of thing. And so it was national teams, then it was, oh, now let's do national and qualifying, and then it's everything, but it's so hard to fit them all on there. And I know some people get their feelings hurt here and there because the Power Wheels didn't make it, or, you know, I think maybe this year a couple of the classes didn't make it on. I don't recall, but oh no, I think it was for Gold Rush this year. We didn't put every name on. We only did the national bracket. But the problem is it ends up being like reading a newspaper, and it's not really a design anymore, you know? And so I get the it's cool to see that your name's on the shirt or your team is listed, but it's not that fun for me or exciting to design if it's just all names, you know? So that's kind of my opinion on it. If the majority is that people want that, then we're not going to change it. But it's not my ultimate favorite, I guess. So I just go ahead. I was going to say so I selected every design folder or every year folder that have these are just Derby Tees designs. There's 9,127 files since 2003.
How many shirts do you think you printed in total?
Oh, I have oh man, I don't know. It'd be hard to even try to put a number on, but
like one of the craziest part about like Wreck This shirts in general is like I see at least 1 to 5 a week just out in public randomly.
I do too. Yep.
I was at Rural King last week for whatever reason, and it was a pink Wreck This. I think it's the Dirty Girl or the Derby Girl, one of them. And I'm just like, what? More power to you, you know?
Yep.
At least everybody likes Derby.
Right.
So going back to the Blizzard Bash one, how much does it take a lot longer to design that one since you have to do all the names on, or does that take less time?
No, the names actually are pretty quick because I save a template from year to year. So really it's just getting the names from a spreadsheet that they send me. I actually paste it into the basic, what's it called? Just a basic word pad that comes on your Microsoft computer because it takes all formatting out and everything, and it makes it just basic. And then I copy that or cut that out, and then I paste it into the template that I have, and it's sized. I think it's 4.1 is the font size, and I have the right spacing and all that, and so it's actually pretty quick. But if there's a misspelling or somebody missing and you already formatted it all, you know, I always save a copy on a file or a layer that's turned off so that it's easy to change if you have to make an adjustment. But it's actually not hard.
That is awesome. So one more thing I want to talk about before we get off here is your fitness journey.
Right.
How did it all start?
So it started with overeating for a lot of years. But, you know, time gets away from you, and you get comfortable in your life and your relationship, and just the convenience of fast food and just a quick, you know, microwave dinner or pizza or whatever. It catches up with you, especially the older you get and your metabolism slows down. I don't want to preach forever. If anybody really truly wants to know more, they can reach out. And I love helping people if you're honestly going to give it a shot. But I just got to the point, it was 2018. I had headaches really bad in the back of my head, and I went to the doctor. And he literally told me that I needed to eat an apple a day. Okay, that was step one. Like, imagine that, apple a day keeps the doctor away. But I weighed 284 pounds, 284.4. That was the most I weighed. And I had high blood pressure. So obviously the remedy to that was to lose weight. So I did a lot of low carb, things in the past. I can drop 20 pounds, within a 2 or 3, 4 weeks, a month or so. But it never stays off if you do it that way. And so I just started doing research on ways to be more, do it healthier. And it really, the way the way it is just, it has to be a lifestyle change. You have to make the choice to live differently. And I have my ups and downs. So I went from 284 down to 250, doing kind of a low carb thing. And then I found this company called V-Shred. It's macros, carb cycling. You have to really, really pay attention to the things you eat, but it seems very overwhelming at first. But once you get the hang of it, I don't even have to read labels most of the times anymore. I just know what to eat. But for the heck of it, to say I did it, I got down to 182 pounds just so I could say I lost 100 pounds. I did that in 2021. But my normal weight's probably 210 is where I'm kind of happy. I recently got back up to I think, what was my starting weight? 238, I believe. And so I'm on day 45. What are you on? 43? I think you're a couple days behind me.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I signed up for a new plan, and they're actually resetting my metabolism. So it's a different process than before, because usually I would have probably lost like 4 or 5 inches in my stomach. I'm almost 3 inches in my stomach right now in 45 days. But it took, usually in about 3 or 4 weeks, I can really start to see a lot of change. And I've already dropped like 15 pounds at least. Well, I wasn't doing the same. And I have a trainer, and I can message him anytime. I messaged him and I said, "Hey, Brady, I'm not seeing results. I'm getting pissed. There's something wrong." And he said, "If you have eaten everything I told you to eat, and you've never missed a workout, you're doing everything right. Everything's changing on the inside. You have to be patient and wait for the outside." And so fast forward to this past week, I sent him my progress pictures, and he sent me a message back. He goes, "Holy crap, it's working," And so I'm on 45 out of 120, and the reason I say 120 is because my training with him ends at 120 days. I got 4 months, and by then my metabolism should be like reset to basically like I'm back in my 30s, early 30s. But then from there, it's not over. You have to continue with eating clean and hitting those workouts, and it's a lifestyle change. You just get used to the routine, and you continue with that. So I have meal plans, and it tells me exactly. This morning I had a half a cup of blueberries and an omelet with ham and peppers and onions, like certain things. But after a while, I'll get to the point where I just know what I'm hungry for and what I can fit in to still stay healthy. So the thing is people see me in months, a few month spurts. So they're like, "Oh my God, you look amazing. Tell me your secret." And my neighbor, I love this story. My neighbor last year, he sent me a message. He said, "Hey, we just booked a trip to the Bahamas or somewhere. I don't remember." And he said, "Tell me how to get in shape for the trip." And I said, "All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get you in shape for your trip next January, not this January." Because you can't do it in 1 month. It's going to take a whole year, So and he's like, "Oh, okay," So, but it's not a quick thing. And I think people see me, like they saw me at Blizzard Bash. I was heavy. They're going to see me at Wicked Team Derby or Bash for Cash maybe, and they'll be like, "Oh my God, you look so much different." but I didn't wake up different from yesterday. It's been a long progression. And you just got to keep its consistency. So that's it. But I love doing it. And people are like, oh, how do you go to the gym? You get addicted after a while. You just get used to it. You know that. Like if you don't go, you feel bad. Like I took a rest day yesterday. My rest days are Wednesdays and Saturdays and Sundays. But they say optional cardio. And so I've always done the optional cardio, except for Sundays. I take a full rest. But yesterday I didn't do the optional cardio. But I felt like something was missing when I did it, So I don't know.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Like this morning, like last night, we were all over yesterday. My car blew up. We had to fix that. And then I sold a Jeep for like $1,500. And by the time I got home, I missed the gym in the morning because I was up late the night before. Yeah. So it's like 9:30 at night, and I go to bed. I'm supposed to go to bed at 11. I don't go to bed till like 11:30, and I ended up missing it this morning. But I didn't go today, and I literally, if I didn't take the ice bath when I got home from school, I would feel terrible right now.
Yeah.
I don't know how it works. The ice bath sucks more than anything.
Right.
But I don't know. It's crazy how doing that stuff literally changes everything about you. Like when I do that ice bath, I literally feel like I can conquer the world. I feel like there's nothing I cannot do. It sucks. Yep. Every part of it is terrible.
Yep.
But do you do ice baths at all?
I've never done it. I have not.
It sucks.
Did you get that from Mark Elliott? Because I know he was doing them.
Well, I saw a TikTok or something about I forget what it was, but I was like, I bet I could do that. It was like an ego thing. I was like, that guy can do it. I can do this. If he can do this, then there's no reason why I can't do that. And then I jumped in it, and I was like, wow, hold on. Wow. Like when I was talking to Mark about it, he said the first time he ever did it, he got shocked from the cold, and he dropped his phone in the water, and he had to get out immediately.
Yeah.
Which the first time I ever did it, all I can remember is I lost all my breath. I couldn't I had to get out because I couldn't breathe. I was like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah. So I've never even looked into what's supposed to be the benefit of it.
I don't really know.
Oh, okay.
I know mentally it does help me out a lot because it's it just resets you. It's like taking about 1,000 cups of coffee and doing a 10-mile run all at the same time. That's the only real way I can compare it to.
Yeah.
I know there are a lot of health benefits. Mark knows a lot more about this than I do. Yeah. He says he gets some of the health benefits, but he does it more for mental stuff. But that's the whole reason I started going to the gym is for mental stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. The gym time, is a time that you can just zone out, and even if there's other people there, you can tell who wants to have a conversation, who doesn't, because if they're just in their zone, you let them be. There's days I'll chat with people. There's days I don't. And it just depends. And sometimes you just need that mental reset, or just like I was down on Monday. I did my workout. I pushed every weight I could just because it made me feel better. And then I did over an hour and 10 minutes of cardio. I was supposed to do 20 or only 20 minutes, but I'm just going to ride my bike. It was just a stationary bike, but I'm just going to sit here, ride my bike, and I'm going to suffer through the pain. But you feel 10 times better when you're done. So,
like it was Christmas Eve. I ran 10 miles that night because I missed everything that day of. I felt terrible the entire week, but I was enjoying every bit of the pain.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know. Just to say that I ran 10 miles, which I didn't think that was possible.
Yeah. I did that once. So I worked out, I did no cardio for like a year and a half, and I lost quite a bit of weight. But I didn't, one day I decided to go run. And so I went and ran, and I started running, and I'm like, my pulse isn't elevated. I'm breathing hard. What's going on? So because I was just going to run a mile or two. So I was like, well, I'm going to keep going. So I just kept going. I just kept going further and further around town, and just made my trip longer. And then I still wasn't breathing hard at any point. And I'm just like, well, I better go home now. So I went home. By the time I got home, it was 9.5 miles, and I'm breathing just like I am right now. I was like in incredible shape for just from weightlifting, and so the next day I couldn't hardly walk. My knees killed me. I have bad knees. I couldn't hardly walk because I put so much stress on my knees or whatever. So I went to the chiropractor the following week. I go every other week just to get to, I have my hip goes out all the time. But anyway, I go every other week, and my chiropractor follows my health journey, and she actually has her own like gym and does fitness classes. And I said, I went for a run the other day. She's like, you don't run. And I said, well, I did. I said, it felt so good. I ran 9.5 miles. And she like slapped me on the shoulder. She goes, how'd you feel the next day? And I said, I couldn't walk. She goes, exactly. You don't do that, dummy. Like I've never done it again. I'll run every now and then, but my knees just can't take it. The bike is the best for me for cardio.
Like I used to run back in middle school. I used to run cross country all the time, and I hated running cross country. I hate running.
Yeah.
But like in that 10-mile run, I learned more about myself in that 10 miles than I had ever before.
Yeah.
Because in the first 3, I forgot completely how to breathe right when you're running, so my chest is hurting like you would, like just everything sucked. But then about 3 to 7 was just chugging along.
Yeah, it's like
after that, that's when the knees and the hips and the calves were killing me the entire time.
Right.
That's when everything really starts to hurt, and that's when pushing through that last 3 miles. I don't know how I did it, but it was the greatest thing ever.
That's good. Yeah. How old are you though? You're what, 18?
17.
17. Yeah. So you're still young though. You can handle it a little bit.
Which like going to the I've actually started putting on a lot of weight. Like I've gained, I think, like 15 pounds since I started all of this, because like I was on ADHD medication since I was like 10. So getting off of that and getting like into all that stuff, like I have an appetite again. I couldn't believe it.
That's cool.
I haven't been able to eat
regularly. Yeah. I guess it's cool if you want to gain the weight. I mean, are you gaining it in the right places? So is it you're getting a gut or you're building muscle?
I took a picture from when I started and from now to like this was the first time I've ever compared the two, and I'm actually like getting actual muscle up there. It's crazy. I'm flexing in the mirror. I'm like, dude, I'm like Arnold Schwarzenegger right now. I'm the guy.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Yeah. So I don't have any medication that I'm on, but it's crazy how medication can affect things, though.
Because I've been on ADHD medication since I was at least.
So you said you're off of it completely now?
I'm not off of it completely. I take it maybe once, twice a week, but I'm slowly getting off of it more and more.
Yeah, as you can manage, basically.
Yeah.
So maybe that's so the ice baths are probably helping.
Oh, for sure.
That's good.
Which I think what I learned, because I never really questioned it, but finally one night I just sat down and I said, what are we actually doing? Because I like to learn what I'm putting in my body for things.
Right.
And the more I learn about it, so I think it's like either 9 or 12 ways to naturally boost your dopamine levels, which that's the whole reason you take it.
Yeah.
Well, it boosts your dopamine levels. The problem is it negatively affects 9 of the ways to naturally do it. So it kind of just, I told my mom and she's like, well, I mean, you're almost an adult now. I can't really tell you no.
True.
So I was like, let's see what we can do. So far, the key is like maintaining my momentum throughout the day. Like when I go to the gym, perfect, we're focused, ready to go. But if I sit down on my phone and do anything not productive, like if I start watching TikToks for even a minute, it gets going.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know. We're getting better at it, though.
Yeah.
Fun. Well, there, Mark, we're at the 2-hour mark. So you got anything else you want to announce or say or speak about real quick?
No, I don't think so. This time flew by, just like the last 20 years.
Awesome, Mark. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
I don't have anything planned for that. I'm going to try to get I'm trying to get Gage, Jason, and Ryan all on at the same time.
At the same time?
Ryan's a little antisocial, so Gay and Jason.
Yeah, I can see that a little bit. Yeah. I think some guys are just they're afraid to be put on the spot and they won't know what to say. And I get it. It can be intimidating, but the thing is I think, well, you and I messaged a couple weeks ago, and I said, "Don't ask me that on live." I think that you understand who you're talking to and the points that we're going to talk about, and we already know the answers. I already know my answers, and all I need to do is just put it out there. So I don't think that, I guess advice to anybody that would be maybe afraid to come on here. This is about you and your life, and nobody else knows it but you. So it's not that hard to be put on the spot because you've lived it, and all you got to do is just be honest.
Exactly. Like, my thing with this is, like, it isn't about me. Like, that's why I changed everything and just started putting, like, backgrounds of, like, the people I'm interviewing in the background, right, instead of just having it all side by side. Because, like, nobody really cares about, like, me. Everybody's here to watch the view. It doesn't make sense. It's like how Steve does Derby Nation. He doesn't want to be on the camera. It's not about him.
Yeah.
You didn't buy the Derby to listen and hear Steve Buckman talk for 2 hours.
Right. Oh, one thing I guess I will do want to add is, so we did decide, moving forward, we were trying to, like, I guess originally our thought for Derby builds is we got to outdo ourselves every year, so last couple of seasons we did 2 cars. So I was like, we should do 3 cars. And Ben, who is like in charge of editing, he's like, we're not doing 3 cars. No, And so I'm like, okay, well, let's take a look at what direction we want to go. And we were at Gold Rush, and Steve and I. So Steve worked. He sold merch for us in the booth that was downstairs that was only open during the day. And so Steve and I both. I had some time off. It was dependent on how busy the booth was, but we sat and watched some of the Derby. We were sitting there watching, and this group of, I can't remember which team it was, but they were sitting in front of us, and the guys they went to go get their cars ready or whatever. And so the wives and / moms were sitting in front of us, and one of them got a call from one of their kids that they were FaceTiming, and the kid goes, "Oh my God, is that Steve Bucknam and CJ's dad?" And so then they're like, "Oh, we need to get a picture." So after I didn't pay much attention to what was going on, and so the next intermission they're like, "Can we get a picture?" I'm like, I looked at Steve and I'm like, "You know who we are?" And she goes, "Of course, you're CJ's dad." And I'm just like, they didn't even know my name, but then I'm CJ's dad. So it was a good laugh. Steve just started rolling laughing because I was sitting there thinking like, oh, I'm popular, but nope, CJ's dad. So anyway, so that being said, that was kind of the decision point for me. Like, I think Derby Builds needs to go in the direction of follow CJ. I think CJ is the most popular character on the show, and he's fun to watch. And so that's going to be our focus from this point forward. I don't think that he'll be disappointed in that decision. He kind of already knows that that's what's happening for the next season anyway. We were actually supposed to be building his car this week and filming, but they haven't released the final rules yet for what we wanted to build. And so we just pushed it off because he's off school this week. And that's something we really want to do is push him to do more of the build, with our guidance, obviously. Luke knows a lot about the cars, but he's been dying. He's like, "Dad, I want a Derby. And at first we weren't going to run Spring Explosion, but I think he's got me talked into it now. So we'll probably be at Spring X with the car and see what the rest of the season takes us. So.
Oh yeah, that's awesome, my man. Awesome. So thank you for coming on next week.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I'm working on everything to get I still got to get things announced. I have a few people lined up. I don't have anything for sure. Thank you guys all for watching. Go watch Derby Builds. Have a great evening. Have a happy new year. This is our year, you guys. This is the year. The year.
Yep.
Awesome.
All
Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you later.
Bye.